Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This is another episode of Treasure Valley NIA QuickTips. What they are is I'm the owner of a franchise called Network in Action. It's out of Houston, Texas. I run once a month professional networking groups of high quality local business owners and decision makers here in the Valley. And that's where I came up with the idea after listening to them, thinking, hey, I should share some of the ideas I hear with others. And that's why I came up with this podcast. So today I have Roger Hall with me, and I'm very excited about. And Roger, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Roger Hall. I am a consulting psychologist and happy to be living here in Boise.
That's awesome. Again, I'm humbled by all the people that come on here, and then also it's people like Roger, Dr. Roger Hall, that I like because I've known him for a while now. He has great information and he's so humble. So appreciate it again. So I got a few questions for you today is that I think might interest some of the listeners is how is executive coaching different than like psychotherapy?
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. In my training as a psychologist, we were trained in my subdiscipline to do both psychotherapy and then performance enhancement work. And so psychotherapy, I kind of look at it like on a number line, which is if you're at 0 and that's today, psychotherapy helps people look at their past and help them to have a better today. And so it's very much past focused. It's very much problem focused to help you have a better today. And executive coaching, performance coaching is really about what's going on today and how can we improve your mindset and your habits so that you can have a better tomorrow. So the focus on past and trauma is not really part of what we do. It's really about what's happening today in your mindset, in your attitudes, in your behavior, and how can we help you have a better tomorrow. And a lot of people who are sports fans, they know that their favorite athletes, they have weightlifting coaches and strength coaches and agility coaches. And many of them know that they have sports psychologists. And Yogi Berra said 90% of baseball is mental, the other half is physical. And he not so good on the math, but what he crystallized is that great performance in any area is 90% mental. And so what I do with business owners is I do the same things that sports psychologists do with their athletes, which is help them have high performance in their domain of expertise by changing their mindset.
Yeah, and you're spot on there. Is that in the MMA world, which I follow, George St. Pierre, which is huge in the MMA world. He's kind of retired now. People want him to come back, but I found it fascinating that his biggest setback was getting knocked completely out from somebody who wasn't supposed to knock him out. And I thought it was and he credits a sports psychologist for getting the trash because he came back, fought the guy again and destroyed him. And I just thought it fascinating that it's one of the times I've heard it before, but he specifically said the number one thing is I worked with a sports psychologist to get me out of my own head, and then of that setback and got me back on track. So anyway, that's one of the reasons I asked the question because I was like kind of seeing the difference in what you're doing and some of the sports athletes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a difference in which group we're working with. And so performance psychology or consulting psychology, we have a history with sports, with the military. There's a lot of use with high performance people in the military and in business. And most people don't know about it, but psychologists have been embedded in businesses to help their people perform better ever since the 1910s.
Wow.
So most everybody knows about the psychotherapist with the office and the couch, but most people don't know about this long history of performance psychology.
Wow. Yeah. Fascinating. Hey, what when it comes to coaching clients for you, are there any personal characteristics you actually look for in selecting someone that you want to work with?
Yeah, I look for two things, and they're related. One is, are they seeking counsel? And the second is, do they accept correction? And in one word is, are they teachable? And so the joke I always tell is, what's the difference between a psychologist and a busybody? And the answer is, people ask me for my help. So they have to seek counsel. Otherwise, I'm just a busybody. I don't walk down the street and go, you really need to talk to me. I mean, nobody wants to hear that, for one, and it doesn't do any good because they're not seeking the help.
Yeah.
The second half of that is, are they willing to accept correction? And so I've worked with people and they yes but me the whole time. Yeah. So that they want to tell me stuff. And if I give them advice, counsel, or solutions, they say, yeah, but. So really, they don't want to change anything. They just want to complain. And so they're seeking counsel, but they're not seeking correction. They're not willing to accept correction. So in one word, is the person teachable? I got hired in once by a CEO of a company. He said, I want you to talk to my CFO. And so in our first meeting, she says to me, of the 10 things you can teach me, I already know 9.5. To which I said, then I don't think there's anything, and there's no reason for us to waste our time. And
that's what I was thinking. Well, then why hire you?
Why? Yeah. And so I don't like to work with people who aren't really interested in improving themselves and don't see the need. I get asked the question all the time, aren't these people narcissistic? And I said, those people never hire me. And if they tried,
they don't want to hear anything.
I wouldn't work with them. What I find, and I have this incredible luxury of getting to work with people who are very interested in improving themselves. And narcissists just have no use for someone like me.
Wow. Yeah. The teachable thing, I've been involved in the martial arts for years and stuff. And that's exactly what you said. It might be different, but in the martial arts, that was a big thing I looked at, because kids were almost always teachable. Because they're free, they're sucking in information. But sometimes you get somebody that have been involved in the martial arts for years, and they're always, like you said, you couldn't teach anything without them interrupting you and saying, "Oh, up this and this," which is I love. Yes, I love input. Yes, but please allow me to get through one lesson, for 3 minutes before you correct me 6 times. So I know what you're talking. Yeah, when you say that, it's funny, because I'm like, I actually know a specific person that he'd come in and out of our school over the years, but he had one of the slowest improvements because he wasn't teachable. I mean, and then I had students that he had years of experience on, and they'd destroy him. And because they were teachable. So no, I love that. That's great.
Can I dovetail on that?
Yes, please.
I have found, I have enjoyed tremendous success with people who are athletes. Either, they came up through athletics in school, or maybe even went to the collegiate level, but are still involved in athletics. And the reason I have success with them is, very often good students, people who are smart in school, they don't need coaching because they're already smart, right? And so school is easy for them. So teaching those people is hard. But people who have been in athletics, they're accustomed to somebody giving them criticism and helping them improve.
Right.
And as a result, those people, working in a relationship with me works out really well, because they get it. They get what performance feedback does for them, and they seek it out. Right.
Yeah. And the feedback too can be it depends on the degree, but I mean, it can be positive too. I mean, when we talk about sports stuff, is a lot of times is that, most people looking to improve will actually ask. So there's the scenario. Well, you watched me do this, and what do you think, Roger? And that's why you're there, is for your expertise to help them and help them improve.
Right.
And they're looking for that.
Feedback is what went well and what went wrong. And you have to have both of them. Otherwise, it's pretty discouraging if it's all just what went wrong.
Yeah. Exactly. So when it comes to you get a new coaching client, or any coaching client, are there certain questions, like a top 5, top 3 questions you ask every coaching client you have?
Every coaching client, I ask 3 questions. And the first question is, What's the straw that broke the camel's back? What is the precipitating event that got you to call me? I want to know what that lever point was.
Right.
There's usually something. Sometimes it's a crisis. Sometimes it's a crisis of conscience. But there's that one thing that got them to call me and decide, I want to work with somebody. The second is, what have you tried in the past that hasn't worked? Because if I spend, months and months repeating the same insanity that hasn't worked before, they get discouraged. So I really want to know what's failed so that we can try a different tactic. And the last is, I call it the magic pixie dust question, which is, if I came on your life and sprinkled you with magic pixie dust and tomorrow your life was exactly the way you wanted, what would it look like? And I get them to be really particular here because I want to know what success looks like. And I get real fussy about that because in my mind, vague is the enemy of excellent. Yeah. So if they say, well, I just want to get better than what? And when do we?
Exactly.
I mean, so I want like a day in the life picture of what life looks like so that we can work toward that, that desire. So those are my 3 questions.
Yeah. The last one I love because how are you going to know what success looks like? So that's, unless it's from them in their own brain, you might be able to help them remold a little bit or something like that, what it's going to look like, but still I want to get better. Yeah. What's that mean? Better than what?
I have a
you call me because it's a crisis.
Yeah. I have a friend and a colleague. He asked somebody, what a successful outcome was. And the guy said, I want to suck less. And he said, that's the moral equivalent of choosing a vacation destination you can see from your back porch. Isn't that fantastic? It's a great quote. And so when people tell me, I just want to get better, that's the moral equivalent of choosing a vacation destination you can see from your back porch.
That is awesome. So, hey, real quick, I'm going to, I know you've written a book or books, but the one that's right back there that I can see, right? And you gave me a copy and I've read through some of it is tell us like just kind of a little glimpse into the book. What's it about?
So the book is called Staying Happy, Being Productive, the Big 10 Things Successful People Do. Okay. And it comes from a quote from Tolstoy. It's the first line of his book, Anna Karenina. And here's the quote is, every happy family is the same. Every unhappy family is unhappy in their own way. And what that means is that the habits of happiness are few and simple. And unhappy people do everything else but those habits. And so when I started out and I was learning how to help people in that remedial psychotherapy work, we were trying to get them to stop doing all the things that made them miserable. But stopping what you're doing that makes you miserable is different than starting the habits that will make you happy. And so I started looking at the successful people I knew. And that doesn't necessarily mean financial success. Right. In some cases it is, but it's people who have really on fire lives where they're living passionately and with purpose. And I started looking, what do they all do? And I started keeping a list. And I got to about 10 and I said, I gotta call time here. But they all monitored these 10 areas regularly, and they invested in each of these 10 areas.
No, that's great. And I love that in the book, I love the fact that you said habits, because not crazy like, but people always say over my life, I always go to the gym 3 days a week. It's just part of me, right? And people always ask, so what's the secret? I said, the secret, I don't want to brush my teeth. I brush my teeth 3 times a day. I don't like doing that always, right? You got to make it a habit. So it's funny you say that, because that, not even knowing you before that, I've said that for years, is people always want to know some big secret what gets me there. It's like, it's a habit, man. I don't want to be there half the time. I just show up.
Yeah.
And then once I get there, I'm happy. So yeah, that's it's funny because like I said, I've been saying that for years on, it's not a secret, it's a habit is what it is.
It's habit. And, and there are some tricks you can do to start habits. But adopting, adopting a new habit is easy. But as adults, Scott, none of us are adopting new habits. What we're doing is we're modifying an already ingrained habit with a very similar, better habit. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
So give yourself a little, a little bit of grace if it's tough for you to change your bad habits.
Perfect. Well, thank you on that. Cause yeah, I'm always working on a few of those. So anyway, hey, I really appreciate today. Roger, and I was wondering, I'm going to, in the show notes, I'm going to have your contact information for people, right? But what's the way you prefer people to reach out to you if someone had more questions about what you do?
Probably the easiest way to get to me is send me an email, and it's Roger, ROGER, at drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. Perfect.
Well, thank you very much, Roger. I'm sure it's going to interest some people and hopefully get some people to reach out to you, because I'm probably like a lot of people is that, your biggest enemy a lot of times is you in your own head.
Yeah.
And I've kind of figured that out over the years, and not there, but I the older you get, the more you realize that you're your biggest, you're your own, not enemy, but you're your own biggest obstacle to success, your own head. So, hey, thank you, Roger, very much. And I appreciate it.
I'm grateful to be here. Thanks so much, Scott.
Hey, thanks again, Roger.